All right, so we're recording now. Welcome to the Serious Scorpio podcast. I am your host, Naomi Simpson, and today it is my delight to introduce you to my guest, Maria Galle. Maria is a wonderful and dynamic woman, and I first met her at the Transformational Arts College in Toronto. I did my coaching certification under her tutelage and wisdom and guidance, which was a wonderful experience, I should say. Maria is a registered psychotherapist. She's a coach, a Reiki master, an energy and sound practitioner, and as I mentioned, an instructor at TAC, Transformational Arts College in Toronto. So welcome, Maria.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me for the conversation. I'm very grateful and I'm excited to explore this topic with you.
Beautiful.
So the question that I always begin with, which is really what I'm seeking to explore in this podcast, is the question of what it means to be true to yourself. So what does that mean for you?
So, that's a really good question because it means so many different things to so many different people, but for me personally, it really is, that old cliche, doing what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. And it's really around me really being present to myself, not selling out, not going with what's going out there, but really fully understanding what my path is, allowing spirit to guide me, and really enjoying this this thing we call life, this journey we call life, and really using my voice to help guide others to use theirs.
Okay. And that is that theme of like using our authentic expression to help others also authentically express is something that I feel very passionate about. And that's really why I'm actually doing this whole podcast. But I want to explore more of what you said about letting spirit guide you. And so sort of really tuning into yourself. So can you share how you open yourself up to do that?
Sure. So for me, whether I'm seeing a client, whether I've got to sit in front of a client or right now on the computer, in a classroom, whatever that looks like, is I always make sure that I have that time where I have a little ritual where I'm sitting, I'm, taking breaths, breathing into my heart, and just allowing. I work with guides, my grandmother and my dad are one of my biggest guides. So I call them in. I call different guides depending on what I'm doing or what I'm feel driven to do. And so it's really around centering into the body and really taking anything that's going to interfere with me being fully present for whatever task I'm about to perform. And what that means is really shutting down my head, and the thoughts, and getting my critic out and getting the judge out and just really allowing my heart to open and speaking from that place. But I think the biggest thing is for me is to really know two things: that I'm not alone, and that spirit will guide me no matter where I need to be, and to trust that. And trust is a huge thing,
Yes, absolutely. And so much easier said than done to get out of the head and down into the heart.
Yeah.
I know for myself, like when I'm speaking with clients and even friends, but often in client consultations, that is a big theme. In fact, it was in a reading I did for somebody yesterday and talking about like making sure the mind is in service to the soul and how we can do that through like embodiment practices and how that can lead us just to quiet that mind down, how we can quiet the mind down through meditation and mindfulness practices.
Absolutely. And it's that trust, right? To really fully trust that you're going to be okay. Because a lot of times what happens is when we get distracted, when that mind chatter starts to go, is because we've lost that trust. that we've allowed the critic to come in with the message of, who do you think you are, really? Is this what do you think you're going to do? So it's really about quieting that side and trusting and allowing soul to speak.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's, it's so, it takes a lot of discernment to recognize, like, which voice is this?
Mm-hmm.
And usually I think, for me, I might journal about something, and usually it's my mind that answers first. And then I'll sort of write something down, and then I'll say, is that really true? And that's more when my heart will answer and allow that to come out. But I love too what you had to say about trust, because I think that's something that certainly I have struggled with on and off throughout life. And even more recently, I noticed in the fall, after I had started, my astrology and coaching business, which was a shift for me this year. And I had done astrology consultations for family and friends, but I had never actually done it as something for a business. And so I launched the business, and of course I had all this momentum. And then I started sort of setting goals, and I should be doing this many consultations, and I need to be doing this many readings, and I need. And all of a sudden, back in maybe October or November, I thought, wait. This isn't why you're here doing this. You are offering this as your service to humanity. This is something you feel really passionate and that I feel so connected to. I love it. I love connecting with clients through the wisdom of astrology. And I don't want to create a situation where I'm feeling like I need to be achieving this, and this, like that's going to take all the joy out of that connection. And so I really did sort of step back and say, I have trust that those who need me will find me. And I'm not going to push to try to get to a certain place by a certain time. And, because I think that's so prevalent in our culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And even in the spiritual world.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's really important, is to understand, or to really recognize and to really trust that the universe is so abundant, that what's meant to be for you is going to get there without me having to struggle to get there. Because don't forget, when we're trying to, it's almost like, that hoarder that you stagnate the energy.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're not in the flow. So, but when you let go and let spirit in, then, the flow of life will really start to go. And it's that energy that what you put out there comes in, but really allowing the flow to flow. Right. For lack of a better expression.
Allowing the flow to flow. Yeah. That's so true. Obviously now you're able to do this, although I'm sure it still takes practice, even for you who.
Absolutely.
But tell me, have you always lived this way, or what were you?
God, no. I was in the busy corporate world for over 24 years of my working career. And, I never really, the thing that was missing for me was I loved what I did, but it was a job.
Right.
And so when I started my courses here at Transformational Arts College, it was a really huge shift for me, because this idea of spirituality versus religion. I was brought up Roman Catholic, and you're full of guilt. I'm also Italian. I'm also a woman. So guilt was a big part of my life. So that emotion really doesn't allow you to be who you are, because you're doing things because other people want you to do them, and all of that. And so when I started here, and I started to, I'll never forget being in one of my therapy sessions and understanding that God, universe, whatever you want to call it, is really inside of me. It's not this statue that I have to go to.
Right.
What a shift that was. And it really took me a long time to get rid of the guilt in realizing the spirit is inside of me.
Okay.
And that's, for me, was the shift between religion and spirituality.
Wow. And so what do you just think you were just open to it, or was there sort of like, what helped you really release that, like the old beliefs and the old stories that you had been raised with?
Lots and lots of work.
Right.
You know, I really, it was just really doing a lot of my transforming
Hmm.
the messages that I got,
Okay.
the negative beliefs that I believed about myself,
Hmm.
that I wasn't worth to be this spiritual being, you
Okay.
know, that I wasn't worth doing what I wanted to do, that really, that I should be satisfied. And there's the word should again, that I
Right.
should be satisfied with what I have because I had a really good job and I was getting paid really good money, you
Hmm.
know. And so why are you not satisfied? But there was this yearning,
Okay.
you know, that really started to come through. And I guess I wasn't allowed, or I didn't allow myself to connect to it until really I started here. And then I started to be open to perhaps there's a different way of being. And I
Hmm.
do have a voice and I could use it. How do I choose to use it though? Because don't
Wow.
forget what happens is that, so it's the pendulum swing, right?
Yes.
So then you decide that you have this voice and then you never shut up, right? And so that's not healthy either. So how do we bring it into balance? So I went through a period where, you know, was probably pretty arrogant,
Oh
you know,
boy.
where, yeah, sure, you know, I have a voice and yes, I'm worthy this and I'm, you know, and all of that. I'm, instead of just like, just slowing it down again, the mind going and really slowing it down. And I think when I finally got to that place, and really people laugh at me, but people that know me pretty well,
Hmm.
that it wasn't until I was able to take my first trip to Ireland
Hmm.
and sitting in this field and really feeling so connected, not to the land
Hmm.
only, but to my spirit, to who I really was meant to be.
Oh, wow.
And I remember sitting there and actually having one of the instructors from here that had passed away come through for me.
Oh,
And just,
wow.
I bawled my eyes out for 20 minutes.
Oh,
And
wow.
so it really was a very pivotal moment for me to really
Okay.
start to understand what spirit really was.
Wow. That, I mean, that sounds like a really life life altering and transformational
Hmm.
experience for
Yeah,
sure. To have such
absolutely.
a personal um, kind
Yeah.
of real epiphany.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it was, and that's, you know, and then you start to, and of course, you know, as you said, there's times when you kind of shift back and forth and, you know, old fears come in
Mhm.
or old messages come in. It's when those come in, it's not about judging yourself. Oh no, here we go, going back. It's about, okay, you know, tomorrow will be different.
Right.
Or, you know, taking that time to connect again and understanding and taking a look, what just happened that had me go back to that and really taking a look, you know, what was I feeling? What was the situation around me? You know, all that kind of stuff. And this year has been really amazing for that. You know, I know everybody's been, you know, we've had enough of it, but but if you think about it, it's really, you know, how do you want to do life differently,
Right.
right?
Exactly. And I think, you know, I'm not dismissing the suffering that has been caused by the
Mm-mm,
pandemic at all, because that, you know, I'm not interested in spiritually bypassing that. Um,
absolutely.
but I agree that it's been this incredible opportunity to be deeply introspective and to become very, very clear on what is important to me in life, what can fall
Yeah.
by the wayside. And also, you know, I remember when it first started, and my daughter, who's 16, um, she said to me, you know, Mom, it's kind of nice not to be rushing around all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, you know, this for a teenager who
Yeah.
we assume wants to be like out and about and doing things and be social, and of course she wants to be connected with people, but it made me realize that even though I thought we were fairly conscious in the way we chose to spend our time and energy,
Mm-hmm.
there were a lot of things we were doing that were completely unconscious and they were
Yep.
exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And to have the opportunity to say, no, 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 enough, you know, and so the challenge will be post
Yep.
COVID. Okay, well, how do we achieve that balance again?
Yep.
Um,
Absolutely. You
yeah,
know, doing the things that, you know, we want to do, you know, go out with friends, go traveling, doing all
yeah.
that. But how do we stay centered in all of that?
Yes, yes.
Really?
And I think I also really appreciate the very important point you made about forgiving yourself and not judging.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's so easy to get into, well, first, of course, we always have not just we don't just judge ourselves. We have lots of other people who are quite happy to jump in and judge for us.
Absolutely.
So it's hard enough to tune those voices out. And then, of course, that voice in your head is often the harshest critic, that part of ourselves, that's the critic that just loves to be, I know in, I think it's in nonviolent communication or compassionate communication, they call it the jackal.
Right.
And, you know, the jackal has a lot to teach us. And so you want to hear it, but you can also say, okay, I hear you, but I needed to revisit this one more time, or there was something more for me to learn here. And that's okay too. You know, I find sometimes I've been sort of paralyzed to do something because I'm so afraid of making the wrong choice or doing the wrong thing. And I think, oh, you know, what would happen if this? And then I think there is no wrong decision. You know, I heard a really wonderful way of putting it. And it was something like, you know, mistakes. And I say mistakes in quotations. It's just like our unsuccessful attempts at learning, or, you know, and that, you know, I thought that's so wise and true. So we don't need to get all sort of wrapped up about it or anything.
No, absolutely. You know, like a mistake, to me, the only time it's a mistake is if I keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, you know. But if I put something out there, or I want to achieve something and it doesn't turn out quite the way I want it to turn out, that doesn't mean it's a mistake if I've learned the lesson and what I need to do it differently next time.
Right.
Then it's a lesson versus a mistake.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
So it's how you look at that, because you know, the word mistake just keeps coming in over and over again. Oh, that's a mistake. Is it really though? Or is it teaching us something?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, it's that if as long as we're not just repeating it unconsciously with no thought and no understanding it, and just hoping it's going to turn out differently. Like if I just keep bashing my head against this wall, it's gonna...
one of these days it's going to start to really hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So tell me, I mean, you've sort of already talked about like your early path, and that, you know, you really weren't living in a way that was true to you because you felt this longing for more, this kind of need for more, or whatever, however, just that, I'm not sure if you would call it emptiness, but that there was something missing.
Right.
And then you started on this path, which really led you, once you started to tune in and sort of connect more, it really did bring you onto what I would say is a very authentic path.
Absolutely.
So tell me what kind of effect that's had in your life with your connections with your family and your friends, and how, because I really believe that the more we live in sync with our true purpose, and when we live with a sense of purpose, we help other people do the same thing. We're leading through our example. So tell me about that experience for you.
Okay. Absolutely. You know, and I think the biggest fear that we have when we want to do it differently is that the people that we care about the most, you know, they're not going to be on board, or they're going to disown you, or they're not going to love you anymore. So we have all of these, you know, needs that we feel, because really as human beings, there's couple of needs. There's food and there's love, you know, and we want to be loved by the people that we love. But what's really important to understand is when you first start doing it differently, other people around you, they'll push back because they're not comfortable with this new way of being for me. Right. And so what happens is, if you stick to it, and if you really find that authentic self, you'll find that people around you, like I know with my brothers, my sister, my nieces, my nephews, you know, my friends, they've all kind of joked around about me levitating when I'm meditating, for instance, to really fully trusting my judgment, trusting me, and a newfound, I think, respect that I never felt before. I always felt that I had to prove myself, that I had to do this. But when you give in and you just say, you know, this is who I am, and you don't have to, you know, agree with it, just respect my way of being, then you'll find that other people around you will actually really start to do that without me telling them that, you know. And so it's been really great to have, amazing conversations with my siblings. And my nieces and nephews in particular, where, I had this relationship with them that I always had to be their favorite and always had to go through all their games, all their recital. And the fear behind that was that if I didn't do that, they wouldn't love me.
Okay.
But when I actually started listening to myself and started to take care of myself, if I'm tired, I might not be able to go to that particular game today. And lo and behold, my nieces and nephews still love me. And so it was just, okay, so I could be who I am. And then I allowed them or model for them to be who they are.
Right.
And I'm really fortunate to have amazing human beings in my life that really, trust in what I need to do, whether they understand it or not, but are there for me. And so they start, people around you will start to perhaps be maybe more true to who they are.
Right. I love that. And I love that example. And I think, that reminds me, like, I think we don't give each other enough credit when we think, oh, people aren't going to accept this, new me or this different version of me. And yet they also have the ability to grow and change.
Absolutely.
And, I'm always interested at different kind of phases of life. And, people will say like, oh, when you did that, I found that really inspiring, or I thought that really took courage. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think that anybody sort of noticed.
Right.
So we never know what kind of impact we're actually having. And yeah, it's so powerful.
I don't know if you remember this quote from our coaching program that near the end, I think it might have even been the last class, where I said, never underestimate the impact that you have, that you changing your life or transforming or do what you need. You're transforming other people's around you, without even knowing. And sometimes, years later, I had a coworker of mine at the other company that I work with, and I guess I had posted something on Facebook around my dad's death, and it was his birthday and all of that, and just this one particular person whom I thought, I don't know who this person, he was just a coworker, but he basically said, your compassion and the way you were around me when my grandmother passed away, the love that you show, the care that you show, I try to live every day to emulate that. Who would have thought that from this one particular person? It's just somebody that worked for me.
Yeah, that's so powerful.
Yeah. And that really brought it back. Don't underestimate the impact that you might have on people you don't even know.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's that whole, that's why I think it's important to be kind to everyone. It's that it really takes so little effort to just show like basic kindness and respect in all of our interactions with all beings. It's so much easier than just approaching it in, a dismissive way or non-engagement or whatever. But that's amazing too.
Yeah. It's a reminder, right?
Absolutely.
To just kind of, like you said, be kind, because you don't know, we don't know where people have been, what their life experience has been, and so for me to start to judge somebody because they're doing something in a way that might not be in line with what I would do, that's pretty horrible, because I don't know the experience that brought this person to where they are today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's in, that's I find when you're doing work, I mean, particularly you as a psychotherapist, a coach, a healer, I know myself, the stories that I hear when I'm connecting with people over their charts or coaching, I feel deeply honored that they're trusting me with these stories. And also some of what's shared is so shocking and horrifying. And you think, and everybody, and that's not to say like everybody experiences different traumas. And so it's all based on what our experience is. And so, but that it just, to me, it's really helped me understand that we all come into this life with so many different stories, and we're trying to learn and grow from them. and heal. And healing is a lifelong process.
Absolutely.
That's for
Absolutely.
sure. It's not, I thought for what, like, okay, I should be healed now.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
always
like
like
the
to say,
onion.
when you get to that place when you're complete, then it's time to cross over, and I'm not ready to do that yet. So there's a lot more
No
healing to be
way.
done.
No way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's for sure.
yeah, yeah.
So tell me, has this past year with the pandemic, how has it changed your ability to live more authentically, or has it heightened it for you?
So, couple of different things that really come to mind when you ask that question, and it's really around, there's some disappointment sometimes.
Mhm.
Today I was supposed to fly out to go to Ireland and Wales,
Oh,
but unfortunately that didn't happen. So the disappointment,
yeah.
and so, but how do you deal with that? you
Mhm.
know and instead of I'm human, and I get disappointed, I get angry, I get frustrated, I see what's going on out there. But I think when I'm fully connecting, when I'm really take that step back, and this has been so great, not only for us individually, for the earth itself, to
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of reestablish the sense of balance, but
Mhm.
also to each and every one of us, if we take the time, what's really important.
Mhm.
I miss sitting around the kitchen table with my family.
Yes.
I
Mhm.
miss hugging my friends, my nieces, my nephews, my brothers, my mom. I miss all of that. So
Mhm.
if you take that time, you start to realize what's really important in life. How can I, once all this is over and we're able to go back to whatever normal is going to look like,
Mhm.
what do I carry with me? Do I go on my merry way and just forget about what's really important or ignore it? Or
Mhm.
do I take more time for the people that I care about?
Right.
Take more time to do the things that bring that joy. You know, don't, if I get called to phone somebody, then pick up the phone and do it. Don't, because we don't know. If this year has told us anything, we don't know what tomorrow would bring. We don't know who's going to be there for us,
Yeah.
around. So it's really important that we don't ignore those messages the universe gives us.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. And it's interesting that you say that, because I certainly, I'm always quite open and receptive to the universe's synchronicities, and but I've been much more likely this past year to take action. And like as you said, so if somebody pops in my head that I haven't thought of for a long time, I will actually pick up the
Yeah,
phone and call them. Whereas in the past, I might have just been like, oh yeah, I wonder how they're doing. And then I think, nope, there's a reason. I probably need to actually reach out and connect with this person.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
And I do think, I agree. I think, it's so funny when all is said and done. And this year has been a massively transformative year for me, and I'm grateful for that experience. It's also had its share of pain,
Absolutely.
which is, that's par for the course.
Yeah.
But what have I really, really missed? Same thing that you missed. Like, of course, yeah, I miss travel. I was supposed to be doing, last April, I was supposed to hike another part of the Camino de Santiago in Spain, but that, of course, fell by the
Mhm.
wayside. And I haven't rescheduled at this stage. And so, yeah, you miss things like travel and that. But for me, the biggest thing is like, I just miss hugging and kissing my family and friends.
Absolutely.
Full
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah. I'm a
And
hugger, so this has been really
me too.
difficult for me.
I know. My poor daughter is like, stop touching me, mom. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
squeeze, squeeze, squeeze.
Yeah, really, it's true. Yeah.
And I feel very lucky that I have an unwilling participant in my house. And I deeply am concerned for people who live on their own, who've had like
Yeah. Yeah.
zero physical contact. That's so
Yeah.
unnatural, not healthy for us, and
Yeah.
really stressful. So
Hmm.
that's, I think, that's something that I think has become just so clear. And I feel like most people that I've spoken to feel the same way,
Yeah.
that, they've really have become very clear on things that truly matter.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
it'll be a really interesting thing to see how we
Hmm.
evolve beyond this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know people think, oh yeah, we've changed forever. People are not gonna be getting close to people. They're not gonna hug, and I think that's BS.
Yeah.
We are. by nature, we're people that want to connect. You know, we're humans. We
Absolutely.
want to
Yeah.
connect with other humans, and that will come back. I have no question that that will come back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're a social animal, and that's not
absolutely,
going to change. Like, and that's what
absolutely.
I really believe that's what we're here for, connection.
Yeah,
We learn the most through our relationships and partnerships.
absolutely,
That's the ultimate
absolutely.
spiritual development.
Yeah, yeah,
I think it
yeah.
was, who was it? I think it was Ram Dass said something like, if you think you're spiritually evolved, go and spend a week with your family of origin.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing so openly and willingly about this part of your life and this part of your journey. Before we close, do you have any questions you'd like to ask me?
Not a question, just a comment. I'm really, really proud of, the person that stepped in my first class to where you're at today.
Oh, thank
Really
you.
proud of what you've done and really followed. Speaking about following your truth, you're following it and doing it in a really elegant way. So
Thank you, Maria. Thank you.
I'm really, really grateful that you were able to reach out to me to do this, but also
Mhm.
to see how far you've come. So grateful for that.
Thank you. And I'm deeply grateful for the role that you've played on this part of my evolution. So thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Any
Thank you.
final thoughts or comments?
Just, just as human beings, again, we've said it before, but just be really kind, because you don't know what other people's journey has been.
Mhm.
Really try as much as we can to get rid of judgment for ourselves and other the criticism, and really come, as much as you can, because we are human, we have human frailties that come in, but as much as you can, try to work in a way where your heart is completely open and you're coming from that place as much as you can,
Yeah.
and not criticizing yourself or judging yourself where you've missed or where
Right.
you've taken another step in the direction that perhaps isn't for your highest good or somebody else's highest good. And then just come back,
Yeah.
breath, 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 breath.
Yes. And be forgiving, forgive
Absolutely.
yourself and forgive other people. I think we're so hard on ourselves and we're
Hmm.
so hard on others, and
Yeah,
it doesn't have to
absolutely.
be that way. So
Yeah,
choose again and
yeah,
choose to be softer.
absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's
Thank
been
you.
wonderful speaking
Thank
with you,
you
and
too. Thank you.
namaste. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we look forward to the next conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.